Hi everyone and welcome to our next activity in Adobe Flash. We're going to do something that you old school gamers might really like. We're going to create some animated characters. Now you can go online and you can search for these characters, whichever that you choose. These are called sprite sheets. So you just have to do a Google search for sprite sheets. And what we want are PNG copies of sprite sheets because we want to make sure that the backgrounds are transparent as we import these into Adobe Flash. So very important that you choose PNG sprite sheets. So I'm going to show you how to use this today. So what you have to do is first we're going to go into Photoshop. Now I'm just going to close this here. And first of all, I'm going to open up the sprite sheet that I have. Notice that it is a PNG image. Let's bring in that and take a look at it. I'm just going to Control+. I'm just going to zoom in and find a couple that might look good to work with. I want to find characters that look like they're walking, and this looks like a good choice. I can use these ones here. So I'm going to crop these three characters here, and we'll accept that. And then what I'm going to do is over here on the right, I'm going to duplicate this layer. And we'll just click OK. So we've got two layers here of exactly the same thing. I'm just going to click on this here, and that will stop our view from that layer there. Because what I want is, I want one Super Mario that is standing and one that is walking. So I'm just going to work in one of these layers here, and I'm just going to erase these other ones because I just want him standing in this layer. So there, we've got that there. I'm just going to go Control+ and just zoom in. Now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to make that not visible. Let's take a look at the other one. So this one here, I want the character that's walking. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got that selected. I'm going to be careful working, making sure we're in the right layer. I'm going to erase everything here. So there, we've got two layers. I'm going to view this other layer. And we have our two characters. And what we're trying to do in our animation is basically just alternate from this character here on the left to this character here, and then back and forth. And just by going back and forth, it's going to look like our Super Mario is walking. What we have to do next is go to the Move tool, and what I'm going to do is just click on this one here and slide it over and put it exactly over top of our other one. So you can see the noses here. I'm going to try to line this up exactly the same. There, I think that looks good. So we've got them overlapped now. So when we look at this here, we can see our two layers overlapping. I'm going to go to the crop tool and I'm just going to crop this so we just have our overlapping characters. Click OK, and there we have our two characters, one standing, one walking, and they're overlapping. So I'm going to go and save this. I'm going to go Save As, and I want to save this as a PSD. I can actually import PSDs into Adobe Flash. So I'm just going to change the name here. And Let's just call this overlapping characters. So there, I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to go to Adobe Flash. Let's open up that. We're going to open up a new file. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File. And we're going to import this to Library. Very important. We don't want the stage. We're going to import this to the library. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to find our PSD file, which is here. And then it opens up this window and it says, what do you want to import? We want to import both of those. So make sure that they're both checked, and we're going to click on OK. Now we don't see it because we're looking at the stage, in other words, the scene, but our characters went to the library. So if we go to Window and we go to Library, and we get this window popping up, here they are here, Super Mario Overlapping Characters. So if I click on that, then I get our characters here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this. When I double click on this, you're going to see over here that it's actually going to bring in these characters, and you're going to see what they look like in their layers. So I'm going to double click here, and there we get our layers here, and you can see that right now we're working inside the library. We're not in our scene. If I want to go to the scene, I can click back on here, and that will take me back to my stage area. Remember, I want to go to Window, I want to go to Library, I want to double click, and that will bring me into the library where I'm working right now. Now I'm just going to go Control Plus. I just want to zoom in on my character here so I can see what I'm working with. Now I'm going to go and I'm just going to close the view on this layer and this layer just so I see what I have here. This is the one where he's just standing still. So I'm just going to rename this here. So double click and we'll call this standing so I can keep track of my characters. And then I'm going to close that view. I'm going to open this view. So this is the one where he's walking. So we'll change the name for that. And now this bottom layer I actually don't even need. I'm just going to right click and delete that layer. So let's go back and make sure we can view both of these. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my top layer where he's standing. And in order to make it look like he's walking, he's going to basically stand for a short time, and then he's going to look like he's walking, and then he'll look like he's standing and look like he's walking. So we're going to create that in our timeline. So you're going to go up to where he's standing, and I'm going to go to frame 5, and I'm going to right click and insert frame. So now you can see that basically he's just standing there. But when we animate this, this is going to go quickly, and this will just be for a fraction of a second. Remember, we're set for 24 frames a second. This is only 5 frames, so that's roughly 1/5 of a second that he's going to be standing here. Then what I'm going to do is in frame 6, I'm going to click on frame 6, and I'm going to insert blank keyframe. So let's do that. And so here's what I have so far. So in frame 6, that's where we want him to basically move his feet. So that's this one over here. So if I go to frame 1 in this layer, I'm going to right click and copy frames. And I'm going to go back to my first layer where he's standing. I'm going to click in here on frame 6. I'm going to right click and paste. So now look what I have now. He's standing, and then he's moving his feet. Well, again, he's going to do that for a fifth of a second if we want to be consistent. So let's say we'll go to frame 11, and we'll right click, and I'm just going to insert frame because we want that to stay like that during that time. So now if I go back here, you can see what's happening. He looks like he's walking as we scrub along. Now, we just used this layer here to have his pose. So actually we don't need this layer anymore. So I'm going to click on this and we can delete that layer. So now we have this here. We have our Super Mario walking. Now remember, we created this in the library, and we're going to bring this into the stage area. So to do that, we're just going to click on Scene 1. Take us back to the stage area. Now I need some kind of background here, so I'm going to go File and Import to Stage. You can go and choose any picture you want. So I've got a picture here of Parliament Hill. It's a fairly huge picture. I'm just going to zoom out. So it looks like this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Super Mario into this scene. I'm going to do that and put him in a separate layer. So I'm going to right click, insert layer. So I'm working in layer 2 right now. I can rename this here. This is my background. So I'll put that here. And we can rename this one here. So this will be Mario. Now, like I said, what I want to do is bring him into this layer here. So to do that, I'm going to go Window. I'm going to go to Library because remember that's where it's sitting. And if I bring this character in, I just need to drop and drag. And I can bring it into my stage area. Now, as you can see, it's very small. So small that I can hardly see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and notice I've got position and size. I can change the size of our Mario. Right now, these two are locked together, so they're going to grow in the same ratio. Right now, this is 31. So let's make this maybe 4 times bigger. And I click on this, and we'll make that 120. There, that's a better size now. I'm going to move this back here, like so. All right, I'm going to go to my background, and obviously I want my background to stay the same for a certain length of time. Let's say up to frame 90. I'm going to click on frame 90 in my background, and I'm just going to insert frame. So there, now we have our background. And go back to frame 1. This is what it looks like. What we're going to do then is go to our Mario layer, and in frame 90, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to insert blank keyframe. And what I want to do with Mario is I want Mario to move. So in this layer here, I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to create motion tween. Notice it turns light blue. So now we can start creating some motion with our Super Mario. If I just scrub along now, I can see that he is walking. So we have created a moving symbol inside the library. But now we're going to create the motion. So if we're running at 24 frames per second, let's say that we want him to get to this side of Parliament Hill in about 2 seconds. So that'll be 24 times 2, so 48. So I'm going to click on that frame right there, and I'm just going to move him. right to that spot. And notice you get this inserted here, and we see our line. So now if I just hit enter, I'll hit enter again to play, we can see that he walks up to that side of Parliament Hill. Now we want him to jump on top, so let's say this is frame 48. We'll say that at frame 60, we want to have him jump up high into the air. And then let's say at frame 68, he comes back down like so. So now if I scrub this here just to take a look, here's what it looks like. Now, as we talked about in an earlier activity, with this tool, with a motion tween, I can change the shape of this path here. You can see how this changes to an arc. I'm just going to make this an arc just to make my jump look a little more realistic. And I can do the same here, just make this look a little better. So now if I scrub this here, there. Now it looks like he's jumped more in a regular fashion. So there, using a sprite sheet and Photoshop, we've brought Super Mario into Adobe Flash and created a moving animated character. Now, if I wanted this to continue, let's say I don't have enough time up here, again, you can just go up here. This is frame 90. If I go to my background layer and I want this character to keep moving all the way across, I can keep moving down the timeline. Let's say that I go to 160. I can insert frame. So now my background goes up to frame 160. Right now I've got a blank keyframe here in the Mario layer at 90. There's a couple different ways you can do this. If you want, you can just remove that blank keyframe, and we can go over to here in frame 160 and we can insert a blank keyframe. That will fill in our motion tween. So now it will just play from frame 1 all the way up to frame 160. And again, you can just keep adding that for whatever you need. So if we go to Control Enter, we can see that our stage area is a little bit too big. And you can see that our Super Mario is animated, moving all the way up to the top, and like I said, you can continue on. You don't have to pick Super Mario, you can pick anyone. Choose one that you like, and when you bring in the sprite sheet, make sure it is a PNG file into Photoshop, and that's it. Enjoy this activity, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.